All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, if this is your first time attending one of the classes, my name is Colleen DeLange. I am on staff here at my Realtors. Also, the reason I teach this class is because I've been a licensed agent myself for over 22 years, and I'm really here to show you some time-saving tips and techniques today to doing a CMA quickly, easily, but making a wowing presentation. So one of the great tools that you have now is Cloud CMA. And I have to be honest, it's one of my favorite products. As an agent, I want to always make sure, especially nowadays when there's not enough listings to sell, I want to make sure that I'm always walking away with the listing. Now, everybody on this call, of course, is getting Cloud CMA through UPAR, but what makes your Cloud CMA different than mine? Well, really, it's the time that you put into it and the custom pages that you add to it. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that today. I like to do this as interactive as possible. So if you do have any questions throughout the demonstration today, please just type them in the questions box. And if you haven't been with us on any of our previous webinars, you'll find the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel, which is probably right now minimized over at the right-hand side of your screen. It'll look like a red arrow. If you click on that red arrow, it'll kind of open up your GoToWebinar panel. And one of the things that you'll see in there is the questions box. So feel free to type in your questions as we go through. I'm going to be monitoring them. And that way we can go back. If I go too fast or I miss something or you need to see it again, it's a nice small group today. So just throw it in that questions box and we can go over that item again. Try to be as clear as you can with the questions, just so I know exactly what you're asking and I can cover that. I'm also recording this class. So let's say you get a call, you have to step away for a moment. Don't worry if you miss anything, it is recorded and you're going to be able, I'm going to show you where to find that, but you'll be able to find that on the UPAR playlist on YouTube. I'm going to show you where that is too. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. I do kind of want to tell you, I sort of teach this class backwards. So if you've watched Cloud CMA, you kind of see how to do Cloud CMA first. I want to show you the finished product first. And then I want to show you step by step how we got there. So I hope that's okay with you. The reason I like to show you the finished product first is there's a lot of CMA programs out there. And you may find that you just want to use the Paragon CMA. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of the Paragon CMA. I know a lot of people with UPAR have used it before. Paragon has a lot of great functionality and I love a lot of the features. But the CMA product, it always left me longing for something. It wasn't easy. I don't think it makes a wowing presentation, and I really like Cloud. I think Cloud, I'm going to show you something brand new. They just released the Cloud Live version. I love it. I think you can do a great video resume. You can add your custom pages. It will even calculate things like if the square footage is different on your subject property, what's the difference in size, if there's an additional bathroom or bedroom. So again, we're kind of going to do this backwards, so bear with me. I'm going to actually show you an actual CMA. We're going to go through it together. I'm going to show you step by step how I do that at the end, and that way you can actually follow along. But let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to turn off my messy here so that you can go ahead and actually see the entire finished product. But basically, I'm going to show you this one. I think this makes a good presentation. And again, if you have any questions, just throw them in that questions box. But basically what I like to do is I like to show you the finished product first so you can see, is that something I want to take the time to learn? So this was a CMA that I did previously. And what I like about Cloud is that it's branded to you. It has your contact information. I think it is a very clean look. On average, it takes me 7 minutes to prepare what I'm about to show you. So this one took me between 7 and 8 minutes. It does show where the comparables in the neighborhood are coming from. I also like to pull in things like the BSNA record. Now, I know hearing a lot of people up in UPAR, they said, you know, some of the BSNA records aren't there, and you have to go to, you know, a separate source for them. Again, we give you that one-click into BSNA, but you could pull them in from anywhere. So if they aren't in BSNA, let's say that you had to go down and get a field sheet because it's kind of a remote, we used to call them field sheets. I don't know if you call them field sheets up there, but we used to actually pay, you know, $2 at the city office for a field sheet. You could bring those in as well. So I bring in the BSNA record because it's allowing me to start putting the comparables together for this subject property. I also bring in the realist record. So this allows me to pull all the additional information, who, when it was listed, you know, did it go into foreclosure, who bought it and when. I also like to pull in stats for what's going on in the area. So I can see right here, when I listed this home, I can see that the inventory of homes for sale was down almost 50%. So what did it do to our average sales price? Well, of course, it brought it up because there's not enough supply and demand, right? Not enough to listings on the market, so buyers are paying more. So I bring these types of things in. Another thing, every single time that I go and sit with a seller, one of the top questions they ask is, hey, you going to put my house on Zillow? Where are you going to market my house? Is my house going to be on the internet? So instead of having them ask that question, I actually created my own custom sheet that says, yeah, we're actually going to syndicate your site, your home onto 400 different sites. Here's the top ones that you'll be syndicated on. So I'm actually addressing those objections or handling those questions right through my CMA. Of course, now I'm breaking down the active pendings and sold. You can do it by price per square foot. And I happen to really like the way that it shows the comparables. They're very easy to read. And I also like the fact that you can include all the interior photos. Now, if you don't want to print this, I'm not a huge fan of printing out pages and pages. So remember, you can actually save this to your desktop. So if you just want to show it this way and display it and then email them a copy at the end, you can do that. But of course, if you wanted to print it, you could. I like that it shows the interior photos because when he says, hey, did Sally have a finished basement? Well, I'm able to actually go into that property and display that information. So as you can see, it's a nice clean look. I think it's easy for a seller to understand and go through. And then there's some great marketing pages that you can add as well. So I've got my comparables, I've gone through, and again, really when you're doing a CMA, I was kind of always taught 3 to 5 comparables is really what you're looking for. But you can put in actives, you can put in pendings. But obviously the hardest part of a CMA is just choosing the right comps in Paragon. And I'm going to show you some tricks there as well. I do like a lot of the marketing pages. It does allow you to pull out pages that you don't want or add in pages. It'll show you things like the average days on market, what they sold at versus what they listed at. So it's actually showing that 98% of the list price was obtained. So, I mean, it really gives you some great dialogue as you're going through your CMA with your sellers. There's marketing pieces, as I mentioned. A lot of times those sellers have no idea. They're looking at that commission amount and they're going, oh my gosh, you must be the wealthiest agent in the world. They don't generally realize that there are 2 agents involved and there are 2 brokers involved. So there's some great marketing pieces that you can choose. Now, you don't have to use the marketing pieces. You can really customize this so you're only using the pieces that you want. And that's the nice thing about Cloud. I'm a little bit more of a meat and potatoes girl, unfortunately. And I kind of just want to show them, really, here's your comps. I don't want 20 pages of testimonials. But if you choose, if you want all your testimonials, if you want, you know, pages talking about all the things you do in your community and how long, and maybe you want a resume, you can certainly do that. I'm a little bit more keep it short and sweet and tell them what they came for, which is what their house is worth. But if you wanted to add more pages on, maybe if you're on a team or you've got a unique marketing plan, you could do all of that. Okay, so I kind of like to, again, show you it backwards so that you can kind of see Cloud CMA, and then you can decide if that's what you want to use. Now, of course, Cloud does a whole lot of things, so we're going to cover that. It does CMAs, it does buyer tours, you can create property flyers, you can even do full-on property reports. So let's say that you create a single page flyer for a property. We'll use this one. Let me just So all you do to create a custom flyer is you can actually just go in and put in an MLS number. You can create a custom flyer that, actually I grabbed the wrong one, let me show you this one. You can create a beautiful custom flyer that will give you the ability to turn that into a property report, which I really like. So I'm gonna look at this one here. I think it's Renee on Desmond. Oh, no, same one. And we'll actually do one that way you can actually see exactly how it's going to look. But you add in an MLS number, as you can see here. It pulls the interior property photos over, creates a great flyer. You can actually click on the QR code if you email that flyer to create a whole property report. So it does a whole lot of things. But let's jump into how we got here. So I'm going to start at the very beginning now. There are two ways to get into Cloud. If you have a report that's already created and you want to go in, you want to edit it, or you want to go in and print it or email it, you can go right under resources. So as I keep telling you in these classes, think of resources as like your agent toolbox. The more tools that become available to you, they are going to be listed under resources. But if I wanted to go into my Cloud account, I would simply go under resources, hit Cloud CMA, and it's going to open up your Cloud CMA account. Now, if you've never used Cloud before, you will come to a screen that will ask you to enter your information to set up your account. You don't have to pay anything. There's no fee. You can sign up for upgrades, but you really don't need to with this product. I'm going to be totally honest. All you need to do is go in the first time and set up your account. So again, you're going to go under resources to do that. You're going to go under resources, Cloud CMA. And if you've never used Cloud before, this is where it's going to ask you to put in your company information and some basic information to get your account set up. Then once you're in your account, it's going to look something like this. Now, you probably won't have any recent reports if you're just starting out, but you can always create a report. But here's the cool thing about using Cloud. Really, when you're starting, the hardest part of creating a CMA, as I mentioned, is really finding the right comparables within Paragon. So that's where we're going to start today. So I'm going to walk you through step by step. If you do have any questions, again, just throw them in that questions box and we'll go ahead and address them. All right, so where we're going to start is right under search, because that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to find comps. One of the things I do like to do when I'm searching for comps is I like to see if the property has ever been listed before. So let's actually start there. I'm going to go right up to the top here, and I'm going to type in my subject property address right in my top search bar here. And I can see, oh yeah, the property actually has closed before. So I'm going to click on that closed record. And one of the benefits that you now get through going through our Paragon is, remember, you now have that deep linking with BS&A so that you can get the property information quickly. So let's say I'm starting to do my homework. I want to start gathering the information about this particular property. So I'm going to go to my BS&A record. Now, I do apologize. It kind of looks like a trash can. It's not a trash can. It's actually a government pillar. But when Brian sort of stuffed the government pillar onto the little button, it kind of looks a little more like a trash can. So I do apologize. But if I click on that government pillar button, it's going to take me into that BS&A record. And that BS&A record is going to do a couple cool things for me. One, it's going to take me directly into that property record, and more properties down here now show things like if there was an assessment done, you'll now see that. Over in a few cities, we've even got the water bill, because water is obviously attached to the property. It will display whether or not the water has been paid for that property. So I can get a lot of information to start doing my homework for my CMA right from here. But I'm going to show you a couple quick tips, or I call them kind of cheats, if you will. I want to make sure that I'm getting all the information, but I just want to make sure that I'm doing it quickly and efficiently. And one of the ways that you can do that is I actually save this record as a PDF and I pull it into my Cloud CMA report. So what I generally do is I will just pull it up. I will save it to a PDF, and I do this for a couple reasons. One, it's going to allow me to have conversations with the seller. So if I notice there's unpaid property taxes or something like that, I can go ahead and have that conversation with the seller. But two, it also covers me, because at the bottom here, it's dated, and it's going to show that I showed it in the CMA that I presented to them. So if anything changes, let's say that there's an assessment done after that, now they want to know, why is there $5,000 missing out of my closing proceeds? I can actually see that. Okay, well, I gave you the information on this date and it was assessed after. So, you know, these are all things that you want to make sure you're covering yourself and addressing with your client. So what I generally will do is I will print this as a PDF and I will pull it into my Cloud CMA report. And I'm going to show you step by step how to do that in just a moment. The other quick tip here is that if you have not, remember now through data sharing, you're going to cover a much larger area. So if you have not been to the property before, let's say you're going on your listing appointment tonight, it's 2 hours away, you haven't been there before, and you want to have a nice cover shot. Now, if you have no photo of the home, Cloud CMA will do an overhead shot for you. But what I recommend is simply going to the BS&A record, and there is a photo there. Now, let me be very clear. You don't want to steal another person's photo from the MLS, because how copyright works, whoever clicked the shutter of the camera, whoever clicked the button on the camera and took the photo actually owns that photo. However, this is a public record. It's actually on the BS&A site. So this is a public record. So what I do is I generally will click on the photo. So you don't want to do this with someone's MLS photo. But because you're looking at the BS&A site, and this is a public photo, I can right click on the photo, and I usually do a save image as. I then will save it. We'll call this exterior photo, and I will go ahead and save this to my desktop. And now I can go ahead and pull that in as my beautiful cover shot when I am working in Cloud CMA without having to drive over across town and take a picture ahead of time. Now, of course, if you are using a tablet, you could also do it if you're walking up to the front porch. You could quickly snap a shot, but I think it's really nice when it's all done and it's all prepared before I get there. So again, if you go to your BS&A record, just click on the photo to blow the photo up. You can right click to do a save image as, and that's generally what I will use for my front cover shot. Some other things that I like to prepare are market stats. I think market stats are really important. So I'm going to show you that too. I use a program called Fast Stats. So I go into my market stats program, but you could do this with any stat program. I just particularly like this one because I think it's very easy. So I go into our stats program. I'm going to click on Fast Stats here for just a moment. And let's say I am listing a home in Macomb County. I'm going to click on the county. I'm going to click on the city it's located in, and I'm now going to pull up stats for that property. So as I can see here, the inventory of homes for sale is about 20% down in this city from last year. It wasn't that much to sell last year. And then I can see what it's done to the average sales price. It went from last year, $263, to this year, $294, right? Supply and demand. And then I save this. I actually usually will download that, and I will pull that into my Cloud CMA report. Okay, so now we've got some history. We're starting to build, you know, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms. But another key piece is I like to actually save the old listing or the old sale from when they bought it. So remember, all of your history came over from your previous Paragon system. So if you go in and you type in that address, I can go in and I can actually save this as well. So I'm going to say I want to print this as a PDF, and I want to pull this into my Cloud CMA report. I just had a seller call me. I helped them purchase their home 3 years earlier. And so it was really nice when I could just pull up the listing ticket from when they bought it. It showed what they paid. It showed if there were concessions. It showed the type of financing they took. So it looks like you're really doing your homework. And that's really the key piece, right? Is we want to have everything right in our Cloud CMA report so that as we're going through, it looks like you've really done your homework. So I've printed that to a PDF as well. All right, so we've started doing our research. We know now how many bedrooms, we know how many bathrooms. I can see what the square footage is here. I know when the home was built. I'm gathering all the details. I can see it's a 2-car garage. I'm gathering all the details to really start doing a great CMA and finding those like comps. Now, I know where you guys are is a lot more rural than where I am. So I'm going to show you some basics. However, sometimes when it comes to comps, you obviously have to go out a little further. You might not be able to be quite as specific as I can here, because where I am, we have more cookie cutter houses. So sometimes you do have to play with these parameters a little bit, but we're going to talk about that too. All right, so we've got our homework done. We know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, we know the lot size, we know the basics of the home. Now we want to go in and find like comparables. So that's where you're going to start your search. So I'm going to say, I want to find single family home comps. So I'm going to select residential or single family home. Now, I know I've gotten a lot of support calls, and a lot of people will say, well, Colleen, it says single family home, but what if they don't want condos? What if they just want a single family home? Well, remember, you can select that. So where it says type here, if you go to the magnifying glass to the right, you can say, oh, they're only interested in condos, or I want comps for condos. So you can actually be very specific here. But in this case, they're looking for a single family home. I don't want comps for condos. I just want single family homes. Statuses. So of course, the most important status is going to be what it closed for, right? We know what it sold for. We know what the price was. So closed is the most important. But I'm kind of an old Floyd Wickman fan. Maybe you won't know who Floyd is. He was a big real estate coach in the 80s and 90s. And I'm a huge fan of his. And he always said, if you're going to take up somebody's time, they know what's active in their subdivision. They know what's pending, and they expect that you're going to know it too. So I've always kind of been a fan of not only including the closed, but the actives and the pendings as well. Now, I'm going to also be honest with you. I hate these stupid calendars in Paragon. I like easy. So I like to generally pull comps from 6 months back. So I just like to use the nice easy drop down, and I want to say I'm going to go 6 months back, or you could do 12 months back, whatever you're looking for. So I'm going to say I want to find comps 6 months back. I'm not really looking to find out what things released for, so I'm just going to use sale. But I'm going to leave a lot of this blank. And then let me show you why. We're going to do in my area what an appraiser would do. Now, I know everybody at this point says, well, things are going way over what they're appraising for. Yeah, but you still have to know what that appraisal value is. Because let's say you get an offer for $300,000, but it only appraises at $250,000. Well, we got to make sure that we have the money to make up that $50,000 difference, right? So it is important to know what an appraiser is going to use and what comps they're going to select. So next, I want to set, now in my area, this might be a little bit easier because we're a little bit more cookie cutter homes. But obviously, if I'm listing a ranch, I really want to try to find other ranches within that area. Now, if you're in more of a rural area, that may be something you're not able to do. But in this case, I'm going to say, I'm looking for ranches like the one that I'm going to be listing. The home I'm listing has 3 bedrooms, not a lot of inventory right now. So I'm going to do 3 to 4 bedrooms. It has 1.5 bathrooms. So I'm going to do 1 to 2 bathrooms. Again, trying to make sure that I'm getting some usable comps here. Is it on a basement? Yes or no? Does it have a garage? Yes or no? Remember that, and I've gotten a lot of support tickets saying, well, Colleen, what if I want to select that it has an attached garage? Well, remember, you can do that. You can simply click on the magnifying glass to the right under features. You can find, let's say it has a finished basement. You could go in and find comps with a finished basement. Same thing for a garage. If you wanted to show that it was an attached garage, you could do that. I generally, to be honest, when it comes to being too specific with features, I don't really like to do that on a CMA site. It's great if you're working with a buyer. You can find those specific features and build exactly what they're looking for. However, because there's not a lot of inventory out there, sometimes it's a little bit easier right now to not be quite as specific so that you're getting more comps to work with. But if you said, you know what, I only want comps with an attached garage, you could go ahead and do that. You could say, okay, I just want to see things with an attached garage. So you can be a lot more specific that way. Number of car garage is also there. So keep in mind you can use those. But really, when it comes down to square footage, if you have a 5,000 square foot colonial, you're not going to compare it to a 1,300 square foot brick ranch, right? You're going to try to keep your comps as close as you can. So in our area, all of my appraiser friends use the 20% square footage rule. So for instance, this home happens to be 1,361 square feet. So in this area, and again, you guys might be a little different because I know where your location sort of makes a lot of things different in your area. But how I would do this in my area is I would take that 1,361 and I would find out what is 20% of that. Happens to be 272. So I would take the 1,361 plus the 272 for a total of 1,633. So when I'm figuring out my square footage range, really, I would want to go to around 1,600. Now I would take that 1,361 minus the 272, and that would give me about 1,100. So my square footage 20% range, because the home is 1,361 as far as square footage, I take that 20%, I take it off of that number, and then I add 20% onto the number. And that gives me my range that an appraiser is generally going to use for square footage. So hopefully that makes sense. The next thing is you're probably thinking, okay, Colleen, that's really great. You got 4,000 comps. You're going to be there forever. Well, we haven't really specified where we're looking for the comps. But again, I want to do what an appraiser is going to do so that I'm getting the right comps. That has to do with searching by the map. Okay, and this is where it gets really fun. So if you are trying to find comps, now in my area, in the area that I chose, we would really stick within 1 mile. An appraiser is going to throw out anything that's not in that 1 mile. So I'm going to go into my search by map. And you're going to do the same thing in your area. I'm just kind of showing you one so I can give you some good examples here. You're going to type in the address of your subject property. So if my subject property, my listing appointment is at 41539 Wessel. By the way, it happens to be Wessel Drive, but this uses Google. So make sure you leave off the drives, the ways, the places, the courts, the circles, leave all those off. Less is always best. What you're going to want to do is put in the route street name, comma, and the city. Now what you're going to see is as soon as I do that and I click the magnifying glass, it actually locates that property for me, puts the subject flag right here. But now I want to do what an appraiser is going to do, right? So I want to stay within 1 mile of that subject property. So I'm going to go up to here where it says search radius. I'm going to type in my 1 mile. Now maybe by you, maybe it's 5 miles. So again, this is where you're going to have to play with knowing your area. In this case, I'm going to search within 1 mile. So basically what I just did is I created a radius just like an appraiser would do. Now again, you may have to play. Now you could do let's say you want to do a 1/2 mile or 1.5 miles. You could do 1.5, 1.75. So you can actually be as creative as you want with that radius. Now I've got my comps starting to appear. So if I click on this flag right over here, it's showing me, oh yeah, there's a pending right there. The price was $250. If I want all the details, I can click right on the MLS number and it will take me there. If you see, let me zoom out a little bit. If you generally see a number, kind of a clustered number, usually means there's just a lot of comps that are really close to each other. So if you do see that, you can actually just click on the cluster and it will do the same thing. It'll open up all of those comps right there. And of course, I can jump from comp to comp very easily. Okay. Now here's a little trick that comes in handy for me. It might be a little advanced, but I kind of want to show it to you because where I am, we're close to the water, and sometimes that can really screw up your CMA. So for instance, let's pretend for a moment that Amanda, who's on the call, Amanda just listed this great $255,000, or we'll call it $2 million, this $2 million property right on the water. Okay, so great job, Amanda. You got this new great listing. I pull it up because I'm searching in my 1 mile radius. But really now I have a problem, right? Because I'm listing this little brick ranch and it's not on the water. It's not going to be anything like Amanda's really fancy waterfront home, and it's going to screw up my numbers. So you can always exclude an area too. So let me show you what I mean. If I go up to the drawing tool right here, there's obviously, you can draw with different tools, but I'm going to use the polygon because that's the one I like the best. I'm going to pretend again that Amanda has listed this we'll say it's $2,500,000 home, and it's going to really screw up my comps. And a lot of times if you're doing this, especially by the water, there'll be 5 or 10 different comps that would really mess me up because I'm not listing a waterfront. But basically by using the polygon, you're just clicking to basically create a shape on the shape. Now, of course, I want to go ahead and I want to exclude that. So I'm going to go into where it says edit, and I'm going to say, well, it's really great that Amanda's got that $2 million listing, but that's going to really mess my number off. So basically what I'm doing is I'm excluding that shape now. So anything that falls on that waterfront isn't going to mess up my numbers. Okay, so let me show you that one more time. So if there's an area, and by the way, I listed a house recently that was in a subdivision, and half of the subdivision was all new construction. The other half was like 1930 brick ranches. Well, new construction is going to be worth a whole lot more than those 1930 brick ranches in this particular sub. So I needed to exclude that from my 1 mile. So again, to do that, you're simply going to go to your drawing tools here. I like the polygon. I think that's the easiest. And basically, you're just clicking everywhere you want to start and stop your line. So I'm going to say, okay. I want to now exclude Amanda's $2 million listing here. I'm going to click on instead of including it with this blue button, I'm going to exclude it. And now I've pulled that undesirable comp right out, or that area right out of my CMA. Now let's pretend for a moment, I'm just going to take that off now. Let's pretend for a moment that you've never seen this property before. Let's say it's 2 hours away, you're going to list it this evening, you kind of want to tour the neighborhood before before you're coming up with what your suggested list price is going to be. Remember, there is that little, and I didn't know what it was for a long time, so if you know this and you use it already, that's great, but there's this little yellow Google man right over here. If you grab that Google man and you literally set them in front of a property, it will show you what the address is you're about to set them in front of, by the way. If you move that Google man, you can literally walk down the street and tour the neighborhood. I can see properties to the left. I can see properties to the right of my subject property, but it allows me to see, is this a depreciating neighborhood? Is it appreciating? Is it a cute, as we can see, it's kind of all cute little brick ranches right here, but it will also allow you to go in and see the subject property. So this is our subject property right here. It's got the little flag on it. I want to see the neighbor to the left, see the neighbor to the right. It's allowing you to actually see that listing even if you haven't been there before. Okay, when you're ready to leave that area, you're going to click on the little arrow to the left. It'll take you back to your map. But let's say you got all the way here and you realize, you know what, I don't have very many comps to work with. Maybe I got to change my criteria a little bit. you don't have to worry about saving it or closing it. You can just go right back to the criteria tab right over here to the left. And maybe I want to take out the, attached garage because I'm not getting enough comps. You can always edit it. Now, if I go back to my map search, I can see there's a few more comps. They're also clustered. Remember how I was saying you might see a cluster? If you click on that cluster, what's going to happen is it will show you those two. They're very close together. And so obviously, if you zoom in, it will break them apart. So now you can see it broke them apart. But if they're very close together, sometimes it's hard to get right on the tag. So what they do is they just show you that there's two comps there. All right. So again, once you've added in all your criteria, I can see I have 8 comps. So now I want to find out, are those usable comps? We're going to click on search. And here's where it gets really interesting. Now, I have a little OCD. I'm going to be honest. My brain, I like things sorted in a certain order, and this was kind of hard for me. So I like to see my closed with my closed, my actives with my actives, and my pending. Unfortunately, there is no actives, so my pending with my pending. So I'm going to go to this status column and think of this like an Excel spreadsheet, okay? If you click on the top where it says status, it'll sort the closed with the closed and the pending with the pending. You can do that with any column. Maybe you want to see, it in by square footage, smallest to largest or largest to smallest. You can click on these column headings and it will sort it for you that way. Now, I was always told when I started doing CMAs that really the goal of a CMA is to get 3 to 5 comps. In this market, sometimes that's hard. There's just not enough inventory out there, at least where we are. So keep in mind, really the goal is 3 to 5 comps, but sometimes you might only get 1. You might only get 2. Obviously, you want to shoot for 3 to 5 and do the best you can. Right up here at the top, it's also going to give you a little mini breakdown. What's your average list price? What's your average sales price? And you can kind of see they're going for way over asking right here. But now I want the easy button. And by the way, things you're going to look for in here, you really do want to keep things in the same school district if possible. You want to keep things within, that radius. So, obviously you don't want a different city or a different school district if you can help that. Now, sometimes you just can't help it. I mean, sometimes, there's just no comps and you have to go out, you have to expand your parameters a little bit. But in this case, you can see, by the way, don't be afraid. If you are looking at this spreadsheet and there's something that's not here that you want, and I'm going to give you an example. Doing this 22 years in the same area, I know a lot of agents. So what I generally like to do is I added the listing agent name so I can see who listed the property. And that helps me, just especially if I'm working with a buyer, I'm going to show properties. I like to know who has it listed so I can see that right on my spreadsheet view without having to open it up each time. So if you'd like to add something that's not on your spreadsheet view, remember there's a customize button right up here at the top. If there's a particular field that isn't there, like price per square foot, I think I already have that, but let's say you want to add price per square foot, you could go into fields and type in price per square foot and add it in. Just click on the fields, click on what you want to be displayed. So if there's a particular item, just check it off, hit add, and then arrange it where you want it to be. So really, really easy. Okay. So now we've got our comps here. Now, obviously, I would want to go through them. For the sake of time, we're not going to go through all of them right now. But now we've got 2 pendings. I want to include both of those because that seller is going to assume that I have seen those pendings, right? So, and I now have at least 3 to 5 comps. That's really the goal. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select those. Now, here's where it gets really fun because there's an easy button. Instead of going into Cloud CMA and pulling up all these MLS numbers by hand or typing them all in, there's actually an actions button that will pull all this great information directly into Cloud for me. Now I'm going to, before we go into Cloud, I do want to show you 2 options that you could do right in Paragon. I kind of want to give you examples for them too. So we've got our properties selected that we're going to use. But let's say Cindy, who's on our call, let's say Cindy has these properties here, but it's her brother, and she doesn't need a fancy wowing presentation. It's her brother. He has to list with her. I don't even know if Cindy has a brother, but if she does, he's going to list with her. So she really just wants to maybe show him the comps in a really easy format. She doesn't need the whole wowing presentation. She just wants the breakdown. Well, this is where Cindy can go to the reports. Okay, now under reports, we have, and you'll have this too now, we have a CMA folder. Okay, so Cindy's, calling her brother and she's like, yeah, okay, no problem. Let me just grab a couple comparables, and she could actually show the comparable next to the comps selected. And you can add in whatever you want here. So let's say let's say it's acreage. Well, I think I already have acreage here, but let's say that there's a particular item that you want to point out, maybe year built, maybe something like that. You can actually go into the customize page. Again, you could add in whatever field that you think would be, so let's say it's year built. You can go in, you can type in, I don't know if I have year built here or not, but I could add in year built, hit add. Now it always drops it at the bottom, but maybe I want it closer to the top. I would literally just drag it up to the top here and save it. Now my CMA is going to include the year built. See it right here? Just added it in here for us. So whatever field is important in your CMA, you can add this. Now this is just a simple report. And again, you wouldn't do this if you want to wow the seller. This is just if someone in your family called you and said, hey, what do you think my house is worth? And you just wanted to, quickly pull it up and do a side-by-side comparable, you could do that. All right, looks like we have a question. Oh, Cindy does have a brother. Good to know. Hi, Cindy. How are you? So if Cindy's just, again, presenting this to her brother, this is a great way for her just to stack up those comparables and see them apples for apples. So I like that. Now, let's say, you know what? Cindy's not even going to show them the comparables. She's just going to call them and say, here's what we're going to list it for. Then there's another report. So you're going to go over to reports, same area, that CMA area right here, but we're going to do the CMA summary. Now I like this one because it's just really a quick, easy breakdown. If I didn't want to use a particular comp, I could deselect it, but it's just a quick graph breakdown. What's the average asking price? What's the average sold price? What's the average square footage? Price per square foot sold. So it's really just a breakdown, how long it's taking, what the average acreage is, average days on market, and it will allow you to do just a quick analysis. Now, again, this would be perfect if you, if it's a family property and you're just telling them, or maybe you, the agent, just want to know it. You're not ready to make that full CMA yet. So these are just two easy reports that are created right within Paragon under the report section. So if you don't want the full wowing presentation, there's still a really easy way to break this down. If there's something missing, just like before, if there's a particular field like year built not being on here, remember you can go up to customize, same process, just go into the fields. So if I want to add, maybe I don't want seller concessions, yes, no. So I could deselect that, could remove it, and then I could say, okay, I want to add year built though, so we can see. You can do year built, add, and again, you could drag it to the top of your column if you wanted to, and then save. So remember, you can add these custom fields in. You're not stuck with what's here. You can add in what you want, and then obviously you do need to refresh it if you add something additional into this one. All right, so let's go. What is the above ground square footage? Great question. So above ground square footage is really just that. It's not including, let's say that they have a walkout basement. It's literally just looking for things that are above ground. So it's calculating basically the livable square footage of the home. Hopefully that explains it. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that above grade square? Yes. Yes, that's what it's looking at. It's looking at the livable square footage. And yes, it's calculating the above ground square footage right here. Now you could add in total square footage. You could really make it as unique as you wanted. So if you wanted above ground square footage and below ground, you could add in both of those fields, but they are separate fields. And then there's a total too. So if you just wanted the total square footage, you could do that. The field, it just depends, and I'm trying to answer this the best I can, Jennifer. It kind of depends on which field you have there. The one that comes out of the box, like what you're looking at right here, yes, that is the above ground square footage. That's basically the livable square footage of the home that comes out of the box. But if you wanted to add the field that is below ground and above ground, like if you wanted two separate fields, so you could show the livable area of the basement, you could do that too. So what comes out of the box is the above ground square footage. But if you wanted to add below ground or finished square footage, you could even do that too. So, and all of that can be done right under customize. But what comes out of the box is exactly that. Yes, and I'm sorry I misread your question. All right, so good questions. Keep those questions coming. So feel free to put them in that questions box and we'll go ahead and address them. So again, different style of reports. If you just wanted quick and easy, you just wanted to know the numbers, if you go over to reports and you do the CMA Summary or the CMA Quick View, that will allow you to customize what comps you're pulling in and what fields you want to display. But now let's go back to our results. So keep in mind, really the whole goal is that we now want to pull these results over into our wowing presentation, right? We want to pull these over to wow the seller. So once you've selected the comps that you want to use, all you're going to do to pull everything over into cloud for you is you're going to go to, I call it the easy button, but it's really under actions. So right under actions here, you're going to find two cloud options. So let me explain. The cloud that we're looking for is actually doing a CMA with cloud. However, if you're showing a new buyer houses, you can even create a buyer tour, which kind of gives them a place they can write notes. It tells them about each house. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a CMA. So you're going to look for Cloud CMA. And this is what we refer to as the easy button. This is going to take all those great properties that you pulled up and it's going to load them into the report for you. And by the way, it doesn't matter where the properties came from. That's the nice part about data sharing. Whether you're listing grandma's cottage down here or maybe I listed something up there, it's still going to pull it in for you. It doesn't matter what MLS it came from. That's where the data sharing makes this so convenient. So the first thing I'm going to do is, now that I've pulled those into cloud, and you can see that they're there because right down here, those are the MLS numbers. Now, back in the day, we used to have to type those in manually, and I have kind of fat fingers, so I always would screw it up and I'd be missing comps. So the nice thing is it pulls all of those numbers in for you. All you really have to do on this screen is type in the name of your client. You could even put in confidential notes that you have that are private to you. But I'm going to call this Cindy Seller. And the next thing I want to do is I want to start typing in the address. Here's where it gets cool too. This is going to autofill some information for your subject property. So I'm going to type in 41539 Wessel. As I start to type that in, you'll notice that down below, that address starts to quick fill. The reason is it's actually going to go out and get the tax data for it. So what happens is it says, okay, we found it. It's got 3 bedrooms. It's got 1 full bath. Didn't pull in the square footage, but I know what it is, so I'm going to put that in there. And you can even put in additional information. If you click on advanced, it'll show you that it found the year built, what the average taxes are, and you could go in and even add more information. But right now, if I don't do anything for a cover photo, it's going to put kind of a Google overhead shot, which I'm not a big fan of. I want it to look like, I did my homework. So this is where I remember how I said if you save that photo, you'll have a really great cover shot. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to click on Add Photo. I'm going to click that great photo that we took from the beginning. By the way, you can even crop it too. Kind of wouldn't want the date in there, so I'm going to go ahead and crop it there. The idea now is I've just added that beautiful front photo without even having to go there. Really? So all we did was add the client name and the address. And if you've got that a shot from BS&A, or you've got a public record photo, or if you went there and you took a photo of the property, it makes a lot nicer cover than just that overhead shot. Now there is something called quick and dirty. I'm not a fan of doing that for an actual CMA. There's a purpose for it, and I'm going to show it to you in a couple of minutes. I really don't like the quick and dirty because it's just not as exact. I spend a lot of time going through the properties and trying to manipulate. It's just not worth it for me. I want to do an exact CMA. I want to show them really what those numbers are. So there is a purpose for quick and dirty in the lead generation. You have lead generation, you have a cool tool, and I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. But right now, really what we want to do is we want to go in, we want to add in our client's name, add in our property so it can pull them from the tax records. And if you've got a photo, we want to do that too. Cloud CMA is literally just these 4 tabs along the top. And really, publish just means save. So if you make a change, you can go in, you republish it, the changes are saved. What I want to do next is I want to click Fetch Listings. So it pulled all those listings for us. It pulled them over from Paragon, so I don't have to worry about that. That part's good. The next thing it's going to show me is kind of, now this is not for the client, this is for you, the agent. It's going to show me where the comps are coming from, and it's going to give me one last chance as the agent to go in and tweak something that may not be right in my report. So let me give you an example. So I'm looking at these comps right here. I can see where they're located, and that's great. But really, if I'm looking over these numbers, this 208 is really low compared to my others. So maybe I don't want to use that particular comp. I can go in without having to start all over. I can go in and simply deselect it. Now you can see my low comp is 243. That makes a lot more sense for my numbers. Or you could do it for something maybe that you didn't mean to add. Maybe I didn't want to put this 300,000 in here. I could remove that as well. So the idea is you can actually play with the comps even after you've pulled them here from Paragon. But here's where it gets really good too. If I want more details on a property, maybe I got this Utah and I'm like, oh, is that the one I meant to pull in? I'm not sure. Click on Details and Adjustments, and that will give you the description of the property coming over from the MLS. It'll give you all the details. If you scroll down, you can see even more information. But I remember when I started doing CMAs, I would always put a Post-it note on my, on my MLS printout, and I'd say, well, this one didn't have an attached garage, and all the others in the neighborhood did. Or this one didn't have central air, or this one didn't have a finished basement, and all the others did. Instead of now doing that, because we're doing it more paperless, right? You can actually go into description. And what I do is I actually will put on my cap locks and I'll say no garage, so less value. So you can even put little notes right here in that description. One of the things, and I generally don't show this in class, but I use it a lot as an agent, so I just kind of want to tell you about it. I wish I was like that really cool Joanna Gaines, where I could like go into a house and say, okay, if we just knock this kitchen wall out, this is going to bring us about $50,000 more value to that. I unfortunately am not that girl. But because you are a member of the National Association of Realtors, you actually have a really cool tool that will take the value of the home and where it's located, allow you to figure out what the improvement would be, and then it allows you to add right down here a positive or negative value. So I'm going to show you this. It's not really part of the class, but I use it a lot as an agent now, and I really like it. Again, if I wish I was smarter and I could figure out what a new kitchen would bring, but let's face it, if Cindy puts a new kitchen in her home, it's going to be a different value than if she puts that same kitchen in a California home, right? So what it actually does is it does it specific to the property address. So I'm going to show it to you. This is totally optional. You do not have to use this. This is just something I have found really handy as an agent, and a lot of people don't know that they even have it. So let me kind of show you what I mean, because you're probably thinking, what's this lady talking about with the fuzzy hair? So under resources in Paragon, there is something called RPR. Now, RPR is not something you get through my Realtors. It's not, basically, it's something you get from the National Association of Realtors, and it's called Realtor Property Resource. And it's designed to give the realtor some advantages over what they can find on all of these, syndicated sites that's, where they're constantly looking. So what RPR does, and I'm going to just show it to you talking about the value when you're trying to figure out, well, this is the only house in the neighborhood that doesn't have a garage. What's the value of a garage in that neighborhood? So that you can do a positive or negative adjustment. So here's how it works, and I'll just show you real quick. So right under resources is the log into RPR. You then will type in an address. So I'm going to type in my 41539 address here, and it's going to find that exact location. This is also another great place. Remember how I said if you need to get a photo, this is another great place to do it. You can see heat maps. It does a whole lot of cool stuff. But anyway, the one I want to point out is the refined value tool. And more investors are really starting to look at this, because let's face it, there's no exact science when you're talking about home improvement or not having a garage or not having a finished basement. So what you can do is you can click on the refined value, and basically what it says is, okay, we found the property information and we now want to find out what a home improvement would be, because you know what happens, you walk into a seller's home and they say, well, Colleen, we put 20 grand into our kitchen last year. That should get us an extra $100,000 in our sales price, right? They're not really realistic. And of course, if you say, well, no, it's not going to get you that much. Well, now they're thinking, well, wait a minute, are you saying we didn't do a great job? And now all of a sudden you're giving them an opinion. It's so much nicer. And Floyd Wickman always used to say, never tell them anything when you're going on a listing appointment. Show them everything. Show it on paper. So if I go to the refined value area here, let's do that one. Let's say that they did a major upscale kitchen remodel. Really nice counters, really nice. Maybe they put in quartz and cherry wood cupboards. And obviously the older that the remodel is, the less it's going to be worth, right? Because styles change and things change. So I'm going to say we did this December of 2020, and that they put $20,000 into this upscale remodel. And they'll give you some examples of what upscale would mean. Backsplashes, built-in refrigerators, things like that. Now, what does that value bring to this specific home? Because remember, that same $20,000 kitchen out in California might be worth $100,000 more, but in this neighborhood, probably wouldn't be. So we're going to go ahead and click Add, and it's going to show me, okay, well, that actually may bring around a $10,000 return on that particular home. It's using some calculations as far as closed data, the zip code, the style of the home, things like that. So when I'm trying to figure out a positive or negative adjustment, this is a great place to start. Now, is it the Bible? No. I mean, it's not going to always be perfect, but I will tell you, a lot of times, when you're just trying to find what an additional bedroom or bathroom might be in that neighborhood, it's a really handy tool to have. Sometimes it's just like a bathroom remodel, and you want to find out, okay, if they did it April 2018 and they spent $3,000, what's that going to bring them as far as a value? And I can see that really that bathroom remodel is really only worth about $1,500. Okay, so it's just a really cool tool. Now, once you've got the number that you're looking for, I'm going to go back into my CMA, and this is where, again, I could put my positive or negative adjustment in here. So I could say, okay, had no garage. We found out that that was a negative 2,000 or whatever it happened to be, and I could now save that adjustment to that particular comp. So hopefully that makes sense. By the way, sometimes I've learned that having the comps in the right order is everything. I remember one of my very first listing appointments. I remember my broker on my way out giving me the pep talk, and he said, "Colleen, get that price down there, get that price down there," back when, you know, we were in an opposite market that we're at right now. And so I had really low comps in the beginning, trying to really just, well, unfortunately, they were so low in the beginning, I almost didn't get to the end of my report because she was kind of like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." So sometimes it's having them in the right order too. And the nice thing about Cloud is you can actually drag and drop your comps where you want them to be. So let's say I wanted to have my, you know, medium comp as the first comp. You can literally drag and drop it into the positions that you want. Maybe you want to start off with pending. You could do that as well. So keep in mind, if you are going to hit them with a lower comp, maybe you want to put it in a particular order. Just grab those, drag and drop it into the location that you're looking for. And there you go. All right, so now if you wanted to put in a suggested price range or a suggested price period, you could do that right here. There's also a place that you can do a net sheet. Now, I'm going to be honest, I really prefer my net sheet to be done in zip form, or transaction desk is what we use, but I've used it in zip form as well. It calculates, it just looks really nice. So you can always pull that in. The net sheet here, the reason I don't use the one in here, to be totally honest, is because you have to do it every single time. You can put the titles, but you got to recalculate it. It doesn't calculate for you, and it's a lot more work. So what I like to do is I like to use the one in zip form, save it as a PDF, and pull it into my CMA. So you can do that too. You could put a suggested price range. I have a funny story here. So I listed a house not too long ago, cute little brick ranch house. Every flower was like in a perfect little row. I mean, it was like an adorable little brick ranch. And so when I did my CMA, I did it as a typical brick ranch in that neighborhood. And unfortunately, I opened the door and literally stepped into orange shag carpeting. The next room was blue shag, which was a deeper shag. You could clearly tell this house had not been touched since 1970. And I went into the kitchen and there were those big stick-on 70 wallflowers, kind of like the Brady Bunch, if you will. And I know they say that's coming back, but it ain't ever coming this far back, I assure you. So I had given it an average price range, but clearly now I'm in the bathroom trying to rip out my suggested price page, because back then I had printed it, and it was really a mess. I had priced it as an average comp, and now it was clearly needing about $50,000 worth of work inside just to bring it up to today's standards. So if you do a price range, that is something, if you're presenting it on a laptop, you can actually go in and actually edit it when you're there. You could hit edit and change that on the fly. So if you're on a tablet, if you're doing it on a laptop, obviously if you print it, it's a little bit more of a challenge. So if you've never seen the home before and you're going to print, I would suggest probably doing a price range to give yourself a little wiggle room for those types of scenarios. So I had wished that I had done that and wasn't in the bathroom trying to peel out that page. So it didn't look quite as nice when it was all done. So keep in mind, you can put in a suggested price range or a suggested price. There is a net sheet. Again, I like to do mine in transaction desk or zip form, just personal preference. So really, there's not much you need to do here other than if you wanted to rearrange the order of the comps, you could do that. But now I want to go down to the customize. And this is really the most important part, in my opinion. What do you want to be part of your report? So think of it this way. Everything that's under your CMA report is what you're including right now, what you've got in your CMA that you're going to be presenting. Everything over here are additional pieces that you could add by simply clicking on the plus. You could float them into your CMA. They usually drop at the bottom here. So, and then you could move them where you want. Now, by the way, these as well, you can drag and drop. You can move things up, you can move them down. If you want to see what one of the particular marketing pages look like, you can click on the eye icon and it will show you that particular page. So you can kind of preview it and see, is that something I want to include in my CMA? Ones that I really like, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of every time they see a commission, they get that shell shock because they really don't understand. Generally, if they're selling for the first time, they have no idea that there's two agents, two brokerages, that things get split. They don't really know how that works. So sometimes having a graph like this really helps them understand that, you know, there's a buyer's agent, there's a listing agent, generally, sometimes it's a dual agency or transaction coordinator, sometimes even, but it allows them to kind of get a better understanding that there are multiple pieces of that transaction, and that's why their commission gets distributed between the broker and the agents. And so it kind of helps have that dialogue so that when you're handling those commission objections, they better understand it. So again, if there's something you wanted, you would simply click the plus, it would float over into your report. If there's something you don't want, then you would simply hit the minus and it would pull it out. So if you didn't want that seller's net sheet, you could go ahead and remove it. If you didn't want a closing chapter, you could remove it, or a suggested list price. Again, you could just remove that particular item. But as I mentioned, one of the big things is what makes yours different than mine. If we're both going on the same appointment, what makes mine look different than yours? And that's the custom pages that you bring in. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about setting up your theme. So let's take a look at that. Your theme is basically your company colors. So obviously you don't want to show up, if you're working at Century 21, you don't want to show up with the Remax balloon, right? I mean, that would not be good. So you want to make sure that you've got your company colors reflected. I recommend the modern themes, by the way. They have just about every franchise color that you can imagine, but the modern theme gives your photo and contact information at the bottom of each page. I really like that. But as you can see, there are tons of different branding that you can choose from. If you stick with that modern, I just think it has a really nice, clean look personally. Layout. The layout just refers to the comparables, not the overall report, but how do you want your comparables? If you are going to print this, well, then you probably want to do, you know, multiple comparables on one page so you're not printing and printing and printing. I personally like the photo with max data. That's my favorite. It pulls over more information from the MLS. It's got the nice big photo. You could do photo with map if you wanted, but I just think this one has the information I'm generally looking for. So the photo with max data is my favorite. Again, you can drag and drop them by simply clicking the middle of the bar and dragging them. If there's something you don't want in there, you can simply hit the minus and it's going to go ahead and remove it. But now let's talk about custom pages, because truly, and by the way, you can save templates. If you've got a short CMA you did for someone, you're like, oh, I really like this, you could actually save it. You can then pull up a template that you've used if you've got maybe a more detailed template, but that way you don't have to do this. And by the way, once you set up your report, it's going to go that report style unless you change it. So you don't have to do this every time. You really only have to do this once, get it set up the way you like, save it, and you're good to go. But let's go over some of the other options as far as once you've got your report set up and you're bringing in those custom pages. So if there's a custom page you want to pull into your report, you're going to go to the custom pages area. And let me give you some examples of custom pages that I've done. So I had a client who called me. He was an out-of-country investor. He bought a whole bunch of properties in a city over here called Warren. And he called me, he said, Colleen, I hear there's record sales going on. I want to unload, these two properties, and, here's what I paid and I should be getting. Well, unfortunately, I went to the property and there were renters in there. They had pretty much destroyed it. How was I going to tell him that he was never going to get what he was thinking? So I decided, again, don't want to tell him anything. I want to show him everything, right? So what I did is I went and I took photos of the property, and then I brought them into my CMA. So here's the actual photos that we took. One, it was had no C of O. It was not fit to be lived in at that point, according to the city. Many of the cabinets had been pulled off the walls. There was water running over the floor. So anyway, I just went and took photos, and I included this in my CMA report so he could actually see the condition of the property. The carpet was pretty trashed, and that way I'm not telling him, but I'm actually showing him right in my CMA. So all I would have to do to add in the condition of the property is click the plus, and now it's added into my report. Some other examples is I created that sites page. So as I mentioned, I like to handle those objections up front in my CMA. So I said, yep, we're gonna put you on Zillow. Of course, Mr. Seller, we're also gonna put you on 400 other sites. These are the top sites that you might recognize. These are all examples of custom pages. The BSNA property record. You saw me save that as a PDF, but if I want to bring that over, again, all I have to do, and I'm gonna walk you through that process, so don't worry. All I have to do is then click the plus and float it over. I also like to include the market stats, as I mentioned, kind of educating that homeowner of why they're going to get more for selling their home right now. So the idea is you can bring in anything. So you can make a page in here, or you can bring in a page. I was talking to a friend of mine, she works at Real Estate One, and she was saying, well, we get these beautiful PDFs that they give us on our intranet, their internal page. And I said, bring those in, absolutely, save them and pull those into now you've got the easiness of cloud with your beautiful presentation from Real Estate One. So I know Remax does, Century 21 does, I mean, Coldwell Banker does, so many of them do. So if you have something that your company has created, you can pull those right in, okay? You can also decide if you want all of the photos, if you want to include the adjustments. If you don't want to include adjustments, you can minus that out. Maybe you only want the first dozen photos. You don't want all of them, especially if you're printing them. So these are all options that you get to choose from. So lastly, once you have your report and you're looking at it and you think, oh yeah, that really looks good. Once you've got your report all set up, there's one last step. It's simply publishing your report. By the way, think of publish like your save button, if you will, because that's really what it is. It's really just saving it so that those changes take place on every single page. That's really it. So as you can see, it's not a hard process. Of course, you can email the report. You can copy the link. I'm going to show you the live version in just a moment. When you're ready to take a look at that report, you're simply going to click on View PDF. I generally save the PDF because I'm cheap and I hate printing stuff. I will save that report right to my desktop and I will present it. Even if you don't have internet connection, you can go ahead and present it. Now, as you can see, I've done a little customizing on mine. Here's that beautiful front shot that we pulled right from the BSNA record. I, of course, had my company page, which, by the way, took me about 10 seconds. I went to our website, simply copied what was on our website and pasted it into the company page. Now, every single CMA I do has that great look. There's pages like, what is a CMA? A contact me page, a map of the comparables, the breakdown. Again, you could change the order if you wanted to. I would probably have my breakdown at the end. Here's, again, my comparables with all those interior photos as well. And it makes that really easy to read report. All right. All right, so let's talk about the enhancements that they recently added. So some new stuff for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and close some of these just so doesn't take quite as long. Some of the enhancements that they recently made were, they added a live version, which I really, really like. The live version actually was something they were already working on when the pandemic started. And with the pandemic, obviously, we had those shelter-in-place weeks where agents were still trying to present CMAs and still trying to get work done. So what it allowed you to do is it allowed you to take your CMA and you could use a virtual meeting or live streaming like Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts or Screen, which is the maker of Slack, if you will, or Microsoft Teams, and you could actually present your CMA through a live stream service, so that just like we're doing today, so you could actually see it and talk to your homeowner about what was going on in the market. So what they decided is we're going to rush this so we can add that, but we're also going to give you some things that agents had been asking for a long time. So let me show you. Now you could go ahead and you could click Start Presentation. By the way, you can put an actual video resume. So if you've got a movie of like you shaking hands in front of your sign, you can actually add that in. But what I like about this, let me go into the comps. It'll show you that things are selling in this neighborhood for about $211 per square foot. You can click into the circles and do it a little bit more interactive. But what I loved about the new version, and I'll just show it to you this way, I liked that they did the calculations. Okay, so follow me for just a second. Where it says subject property, this is the home we're listing, we're doing our CMA on. But over here, we can see that this home, compared to our subject property, had less square footage by 8%. The lot size was 29% bigger, but they had 2.5 car garage instead of 2. You can see differences in, like, the lot size is 100% bigger on this one. It was a double lot, actually. And so if you look, it does a lot of those calculations for you. It'll show you what's negative or positive, and it will even show you the home that's closest. So some cool things, but it does something even better than that. Every once in a while, you'll be sitting with a seller. You'll be sitting at the table and the seller will say, well, what about Joe Schmageggi's house over there on the corner? Did Joe Schmageggi, he says he closed and he got $250,000 for his home. And you don't have Joe Schmageggi's home in your comps. And you're thinking, I wonder why. Well, maybe you did comps on a ranch and Joe Schmageggi lives in a bungalow. But how do you know that sitting at the kitchen table, right? They assume you've walked through every house on the market since the dawn of homes being built, right? So how do you, when you're sitting at the table, actually create or modify your CMA to include a comp, or at least review the comp to see if it's one you would include? The secret is, if you click on the map is now live. So let me show you what I mean. So as I zoom in, what it does is it starts pulling the MLS history for me. So I'm looking at this and I say, oh yeah, okay, well, oh, you say it's over here on Melanie. Yeah, I didn't add it. Let me see why I didn't add that one in. I can literally click on the comp and I can say, oh, yeah, I didn't add that one because it didn't have as much square footage, or I didn't add it for a particular reason. Or if it just closed yesterday and I did my CMA a week ago, maybe I want to include that now. I can select or toggle that comp. It's now added to my comps. So it's a live map with the MLS data so that you can literally pull in comps on the fly, which I absolutely love. Okay, so remember, there are stats that you can pull in here that will give you that quick breakdown. Average days on market, 11. Man, such a difference than in 2007 and 2008, right? Where we had 6 years of inventory. Now we've got a week's worth of inventory. So now we're looking at average price per square feet. But basically, the live version does everything the printed version does, but it allows you to use that map that you can pull in properties on the fly. You can do things like video resumes. It will also do a lot more calculations for you. And it will even show you things like if the average home was listed here, what did it close at? And so there's a whole bunch of things that it would actually do. 6 days on market, they sold for 104% of what they were listed for. So some very, very cool analytics that you can add in. So that is the live version. Now you're probably thinking, well, Colleen, how did you get those custom pages in there that you were talking about? So as I mentioned in my report, I literally just pulled them into the report. But how do you get them into Cloud to begin with? So let's actually walk through that next. All right, so when we were talking about pulling in, we're going to use this as our example. We were talking about pulling in the BS&A record, right? But you got to save it or print it as a PDF, but where do you pull it in? So right in your Cloud account, you will find a little avatar, a little circle at the top right-hand side. That's basically kind of like your settings for Cloud, if you will. Right underneath there, there's something that says Custom Pages. Now remember, everybody's going to have different pages. So maybe where Cindy is, she's got this beautiful, I'm a member of UPAR, and here's our stats of how many homes we sold last year. So you could pull that in if you've got a beautiful custom page, or you can make something. So let's look at both of those. Let's say that you wanted to add a new custom page. You could title the page okay, I could say Cindy sells UPAR. I'm going to add that custom page in. Now I could go in, I could insert links, I can insert photos, I could copy or paste information in, pull in my website here. I mean, you could really do whatever you wanted. Now I've created this custom page. If I have something that's already listed here, like my company information, I can actually go to the little pencil icon, copy. This is exactly what I did. I copied and pasted right from my company's website. And now that is the page that I use for every single CMA I do. It's already there. I don't have to add it, just automatically pops up. But what about if you have like your BS&A or your market information or your market conditions, or as you can see, this one happens to be my PDF that I pull in with the seller's proceeds. Again, that's filled out in zip form or transaction desk, if you will. Those are other good examples of being able to pull in those custom pages. So again, everybody's going to have different custom pages that they may want to use. To pull in an outside page like the one I just showed you, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. I got a lot here, so I had to scroll a little bit more. You're going to click Upload a PDF, and you're just going to find on your computer, if you just downloaded, let's say you just downloaded your market stats. You can go ahead and pull it from your downloads. You could pull it from your desktop. So again, we did the BS&A record for right here. I'm going to click on that BS&A record. And as you can see, it's very quick. It'll pull that document right into cloud. And now I can add it directly to my CMA. So here is our BS&A record for our example today. All right, looks like we've got some more questions. Okay, so really good question. Suzanne had a great question. She said, how long does it usually take to create this? I'm thinking it's great, but I don't know. I feel like I would need to review this about 5 times. Well, I'm showing you all the bells and whistles, Suzanne. So as I mentioned, my average CMA takes approximately 7 to 9 minutes. Once you set up your CMA with your pages that you want to use, so once you've gone in and you've added in your company information, really the hardest part is going into Paragon and finding your comps. After that, you're hitting next and your template's already set up. So for me, Suzanne, and you might want to go through it a couple times to make sure all the pages that you want are in there, but my average CMA takes between 7 and 9 minutes. Really, the hardest part, Suzanne, is to go into Paragon and find the like comps. Once you do that, it's 4 simple steps. It's 1, adding in your seller's name. 2, arranging the properties as you want them to be displayed. 3, making sure you have your custom pages in there. And then last, hitting save or publish. So I'm kind of taking you through all the bells and whistles, but 7 to 9 minutes should be your average. Hopefully that helps. All right, I know, and I'm kind of throwing a lot at you, like everything from the beginning to the end, but yeah, it really is much easier. So think of it this way, and I'll just kind of do a real quick recap with that. Think of it this way. The hardest part is right here. It's just pulling up the like properties in Paragon. From there, you're hitting the Actions button, clicking on the CMA option. Once you pull all that data over into cloud, that's really the hardest part. From there, it's simply giving it a name. It's putting in an address so it can pull the tax records for you. So 41539 Wessel. As I start typing that, it will quick fill. Saying, yep, I really want it to pull in all those MLS numbers that I selected. The next page, I generally don't do anything on this next page. I'm going to be honest. If you want to adjust the order of your comps, you could do that. Don't really have to. It kind of does that for you. Then lastly is your customizing. Once you set this up, once you determine what pages you want, they're already set there for you. You don't have to change a thing. And then last, if you wanted to bring in custom pages, you could do that. But last is just hitting your save or publish report. So it's really not hard, and really your average, once you've done it once or twice, 7 to 9 minutes should be all you need. Okay, so there's one more thing I wanted to show you because I just think it's really cool. And I know we're getting low on time, so I'll make it quick. There is a lead generation tool that's in here. Right under your avatar. If you're into trying to find some more listings, which I think everyone in this industry is right now, there is something called lead generation right underneath your avatar. What it does is it actually creates, and I use this in the subject line of my email, I use it on social media. It actually creates a squeeze or landing page for you. What it does is it allows you to use social media to find out if they want to know what their home is worth. In our lead generation class that we'll have coming shortly for you guys, we'll actually show you how to combine this and another tool to not only push information out on social media, but to capture the lead and bring it back to you. So it does some cool stuff. But basically, this is what the consumer sees on Facebook. They can enter in their property address and it sends them your information, but more importantly, it sends you the lead so that you can actually follow up with them. So it's really cool. What it does, I'm going to go back here just for 1 second so you can kind of see it from the beginning. But again, if you wanted to use the lead generation tool, you can go into resources, open up your cloud account, and it basically creates a copyable link that you can paste out onto social media. And I'll just show you mine, just so you can kind of get the idea of what it's actually doing for you. So I'm going to go to my Facebook page real quick and kind of show you how it works. Bear with me 1 second. I should have had it open. All right, so on my Facebook page, well, one thing I'm going to recommend is tomorrow we have our first Home Snap class with your Home Snap Pro Premium, which is exclusive to my Realtors, and now UPAR has it. I actually attach my Home Snap app right to my Facebook business page. That way, anybody working with me can download the app and they're branded to me so we can communicate and they're only seeing my information. But basically, what just happened is we created a link, and I did one out onto social media, so I wanted to show it to you. Okay, so here's what the example I was just giving. So right here is the link for cloud. So what I generally do is I'll find something great to share, so I'm giving them information, but then I say, want to know what your home is worth? Simply click the link below. So here's what happens. The potential seller clicks on the link and it says, okay, just enter your property address. So they say, okay, we live at 415. They start typing it in. It will quick fill for them. They click the magnifying glass, and what happens is it says, oh yeah, we found your house. It's right here. Just enter your name and email address and we'll tell you what the home is worth. Now, it doesn't tell them what the home is worth, by the way. It does give them some random comps that they could find on Zillow or any other IDX site. But really, the name of the game is it's sending you, the agent, the lead about this particular property and person. So they can put an optional phone number in. They can even put in an optional square footage if you want to get even closer on the comps. And then it says email report to me. Now, really what it's emailing is your resume and some of your custom pages that you set up as the agent. However, they get a little pop-up that says, if you want a more professional and accurate valuation of your home, give Colleen a call. Here's your cell phone number. Here's her email address. Behind the scenes, what just got sent to me, the agent, was their name and contact information along with their address so that I can now follow up with them. Of course, what they got was some useful information in the way of my resume, who I am in the industry, and my custom pages. And they also got a few random comps from where they are. Now, it's not designed, does not give them a number. It doesn't say, hey, your house should sell for X. It's really just designed to give them your contact information, and it's designed so that you get the lead that they may be interested in finding out what their home is worth, okay? So it's got some basic tools. We teach even more of that in the lead generation class that you'll have coming up, but it's a pretty cool tool, and it's free. It's available for you right in your cloud account, right underneath your avatar. All right, so if you have any questions, now's a great time to go ahead and start typing those in. If you have any last minute questions, I'll look and make sure I didn't miss any. But as I mentioned, I know I talked kind of fast to try to get it all in a short amount of time. If you missed anything, we've actually set up a YouTube channel just for you, so that you can go back and you can watch not only this class, but every single class that we've taught up to now. If you go to YouTube, our YouTube channel is My Realtors Media. So if you go to YouTube and under playlists, you'll find an entire playlist just for the Upper Peninsula. So if you click on the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtors playlist, you'll see every single class that we've done. So if you've missed, let's say you missed the listing, how to enter a listing and how to maintain them class, you can watch it here. If you missed the welcome class, or you want to know how to search using the full addresses, all of those are here. Just simply click on the class you're interested in. I should have this one uploaded by tonight. You just click on the class that you're interested in, and you can fast forward to that section maybe that you missed. In addition to that, remember you also have cheat sheets in Paragon. So if you go to Paragon, under MLS Documents, right here at the top, I know it's kind of hidden, sorry about that. If you go to MLS Documents right here at the top, we have a whole folder, right, not too far. We have a whole folder that says Education, and right under it, it says cheat sheets. These are all great cheat sheets that we wrote. We actually got them from some of the tech companies, and they were so technical sounding that I'm like, oh no, we got to rewrite these. So let's say you had a question on Cloud CMA. You can actually open up the cheat sheet folder, type in the word cloud. It will show you all the cheat sheets for cloud. Click on the one that you're particularly interested in, and you can save it, you can print it, but it will actually show you step by step exactly how to use that lead generation tool that I just showed you, or anything else that we covered today. All right, well, I don't see any more questions. I actually just wanted to make sure that I answered everything. Let's see, did I get it all? I think I have all of them. If you do have any questions, do remember that you have tech support that's available 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And there's also a follow-up email that comes out. So if you do have any questions and you want to direct them at me, you're more than welcome to reach out. And thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it. You made my day. So anyway, well, happy selling. Go out and list some houses. Lord knows we all need the inventory. So happy selling and go get those listings. Have a great day, everybody.